From business to entertainment, I sit down with folks who have reached their own level of success to discuss their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, and the challenges they faced along the way. You're listening to The Jordan James Show. If you were growing up in Ontario between 1998 and 2019, chances are you're very familiar with our guest today. She has raised generations of children through her groundbreaking and educational programs on TVO Kids and has performed as countless characters that have become staples in the childhoods of youth from all across the province. I'm Jordan James, and on this episode, I talk with Gisèle Corinthios, who hosted and produced the award-winning preschool morning blog, Gisele's Big Backyard, until it wrapped production in 2016. She's entertained over 200,000 children through live stage performances and has hosted numerous celebrity guests on the show, including The Wiggles, Steve from Blue's Clues, Fred Penner, and Bare Naked Ladies, among many others. The former host of the Nook recalls her big break and what led to her initial casting in 1998, in which she won the role from a pool of over 2,000 potential candidates. So I guess let's get started at the very beginning of your origin story, if you will. Where did Gisèle come from and how did you start your career?
Basically, I guess, I don't know how far back we want to go, but I can go pretty far back. You know, growing up, like since I was a kid, I've always been interested in performing. And I also really like to draw and write stories. Okay. So as far back as when I was 7 years old, I remember that I was in a French school because I'm from Montreal originally. Let me also start there. Wow. This is in Montreal. And when I was 7 years old, there was a production company that came to our school and they were auditioning for a Jell-O commercial. And anyway, and I heard about it. I wasn't asked to audition. I was extremely shy and quiet. I remember my best friend, how she was asked to audition. And anyway, that's what put the seed, I guess, in my head. Mm-hmm. And then that I learned that you can actually perform on camera and you could be on TV. And so, yeah, from there, I became obsessed about wanting to be an actor. And so, of course I was very shy at that time, but then later on when I was around 11 years old, I really started pushing my mom about getting me into acting. And so I came out of my shell, I guess, and I was a lot more outgoing. And so, yeah, she decided to put me into some different theater programs. So I was always in some kind of theater program for a long time. Like I was always studying. I was in like camps, acting camps. And then later on, that's what I wanted to study at school. So I went to Cégep in Montreal at Dawson College. Okay. And they have a Dome Theater program company is what it's called. Wow. And so that's in Cégep, right? We don't have that here in Ontario, but no. So it's like a 3-year college certificate, I guess, which you would do prior to going to university. So, I studied professional theater and all that time as well, like I said, when I was young, I always liked to draw and I used to like writing stories. And then anyway, so I went to theater school. And then when I had graduated, that's when I decided to move to Toronto to pursue acting. When I had graduated from theater school in Montreal, and theater at that time, especially just the whole acting community, it was a lot smaller than it is here. It's like tiny compared to here, especially back then. And anyway, there were 3 agents, acting agents, that would come to see your final performance in my 3rd year of theater school. And so, I was really hopeful for one of these agents to, pick me up for their roster, and I wasn't picked up. And I remember feeling, just all that rejection that comes with life and the arts and I guess all, careers. And so, it was really hard on me. And anyway, and so it was not long after that I was visiting Toronto because my grandparents had lived here. So I was always visiting Toronto growing up, because my mom is originally from Toronto and her parents were here. So then I came to one of these visits, and also I had my best friend lived here, and so I'd come visiting to Toronto, and I came on one of these visits, and then through her, she had a roommate who had an acting agent, and he introduced me to this acting agent. I was just here on vacation, and then this agent in Toronto said, if you move to Toronto, then I'll take you on. So that was it. I moved very quickly to Toronto. Like within a month, I had packed my bags, and I thought, okay, well, I'll try Toronto for 2 years. It was very easy for me to move here because my grandparents lived here, so I could move in with them. So that's why I ended up in Toronto. And then I was going on auditions at that time, and I was mostly doing theater auditions. I wasn't trained in any television. I was going on some acting auditions, few and far between, and it was a struggle again. And in this big city where, pretty much everybody was an actor, and I was working in restaurants, and then, and so I just found the arts very difficult, and I thought, I don't know if I want to pursue this as a career. So I was having this internal struggle. It was, a few years after moving here. And and then what happened was my dad, who's a university professor, he's always telling me, go back to school, and pursue another passion, like find something else, just explore something else to have as, maybe as a backup plan. And just, he really pushed me on my education. And so I thought, okay, well, what else do I love? And I thought, okay, well, I love kids. So I thought, well, maybe I could pursue becoming a kindergarten teacher. So I went to University of Toronto, and I did my BA in anthropology, which is so far from anything in my
I saw
realm.
that, and I was
from
where you are now.
Yeah, anthropology. And, I think it was just, I was trying to find something. You needed to get a BA to go on to teachers college. So I thought, well, this interested me. It was like social, cultural anthropology and learning about different cultures. And I thought, that interests me. I thought, okay, well, I'll take this. Like I felt like I had to make a pretty quick decision. Once I decided to go back to school, I just, my dad was supporting me to do so. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start something. I'm going to finish it because of that, because he was so generous with me to give me that support. And so, I just thought, okay, well, I got to make a quick decision. I just chose that. So I got my BA. And as soon as I graduated, there was an ad in the paper for a TVO Kids host.
Wow.
So it's actually there's even a kind of funny twist to it, because what happened was I graduated from, I literally had my graduation ceremony from university, receiving my diploma. And it was right afterwards, I was going to visit my dad, who was in France for 2 months teaching in Nice, in France. Right. So anyway, so that was his graduation gift for me. Basically, he was so proud of me for going back to school, I guess. And he said, come and for me to go and visit him when he was in France. And so during that time, while I was in France, my boyfriend back in Toronto had told me that there was an ad in the paper for a TVO Kids host. And so you had to send in a VHS tape.
Oh, wow.
You know what that is? It's like pre-DVD, big fat tape. And so a 2-minute video of showing, what would make you a good preschool host, right? And anyway, so basically my boyfriend tells me about this ad in the paper, and he was coming to visit me for a week. I was there for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks in France, and he was coming for one of those weeks. So he said, we'll rent a video camera and we will shoot your audition when you're there. Because the thing is, it was due the day or 2 days after I was getting back from vacation. It was the deadline. So I thought it sounded like a dream job. It's educating kids through television. You can perform these larger than life characters. You're creating the content, you're writing it. This show didn't exist. It was like they were hiring somebody to produce a show from scratch and to perform on it. It was a dream job, right?
Literally.
Yeah, literally crazy. So when I was in France, that's what we did. We shot this like 2-minute video of me. And it was so funny. Even that process was, was ridiculous. Like the first person at first I thought, okay, I'll interview kids, but of course we're in France. So everybody spoke French. Now, as much I speak French, but I was trying to find it's for an Anglo broadcaster. So I was trying to find an English speaking child. So anyway, it's a good thing we were in a tourist area. And so I found a Canadian 3-year-old girl from Calgary. And I spoke with the parents and I said, do you think I could just ask her some questions on camera? Anyway, my kid started crying her eyes out as soon as I started speaking with her. Parents were trying to bribe her with ice cream and the merry-go-round ride. And anyway, so it was a big fail at first. And then, in the end, I ended up for my audition piece, because a lot of people ask me, they said, well, what did you audition with, to get the part? Because they received, I believe it was like 2,000 VHS tapes for this role. Yeah. And they watched them all. And so a lot of people ask me, well, how did you, become the chosen one? And I think, so what I was doing was I was sitting on the beach, which had rocks on it because it's in Nice and it's stones on the beach. And I actually lived there for a year when I was a kid, because my dad taught there when I was a kid as well. And so when we used to live in France, my dad used to always draw on rocks and show us how to draw on rocks. And he'd make he's a pretty incredible artist, and he'd make profiles out of stone. Anyway,
oh, wow.
And I would draw just very simple things as a kid. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll do that for the camera. And I had markers. And so I just was talking about making these little rock faces. It was like a 2-minute video. And when I was shooting this, it was at the end of the day, around 5 o'clock. And there were these kids nearby at a private beach that had a little playground. So there were these kids on this little private playground, and they came over. They were curious because we wanted that in the background shot of the kids in the playground, but they got curious to what we were doing with this big camera. And then, me drawing on these rocks, and these little French kids came and sat next to me, and they ended up drawing these rocks with me. And then, and I just held the rock up to camera, and I said to the kids, dis bonjour. And so they did. And then, so I made these rock faces. But what I learned later is that it wasn't what I was doing. It's your personality. It's how you come across in camera. And I learned later that's what got me the job. Anyway, and so we had the tape of what we were going to do, and then I get back to Canada, and like I said, it was due 2 days later, this tape, and when I got back, I had to have it converted to a VHS because in France they used a different kind of tape called PAL. It was on a different kind of system. So you've heard of that?
I have, yes.
Okay. And so I had to have it converted from PAL to VHS. So I come back, and this is back in the day. It's not like now everything's so accessible. I had to find a place that did this. I found a place. Then it was $200, and I remember thinking, I just graduated from school. I was broke, and so my family, because of my graduation, they pulled together $200 to give me as my graduation gift. And and then I used that to pay to convert the tape to VHS. I had delivered it I dropped it off at TVO. And then it was, I don't know how long afterwards, a couple of weeks, I would say. And they called me, and they started calling me back for callbacks for my audition. So I did a few of these callbacks, which were interesting. It was they were not normal. It was not like it was scripted, because the show was not scripted. It was, make a puppet. I remember this. The first one was make a puppet and talk about cooperation. And I thought, make a puppet? I'm not skilled at making a puppet. So anyway, I get to the audition, and I just had a mop. I drew one of those floppy white-haired mops, and I drew a face on it, and I put it in a ponytail. It looked a little bit like dreadlocks.
Love it.
And then I drew a little face on it, and I had my hand kind of like manipulate the mouth through this mop. It barely moved, but anyway. And I spoke with this mop, and then I had a bucket with a smiley face, and I talked about cooperation for cleaning the floor. And anyway, it's funny because I get to the audition and I look like, the custodian. And then there are these other people sitting next to me with these beautiful handcrafted puppets. And I don't know how they pulled it off in such a short period of time, but like this one girl of this gorgeous, I don't know, she's so this puppet. And there I am with a mop. It was funny. But yeah, so I got a few auditions, and then finally they gave me a call. They told me I got the job. I vomited. I was so happy. I was crying to my roommate. I got the job. Anyway, and that's the story. Yeah. So it's interesting because my role all came together somehow. And I believe that. I think whatever path you take, I just believe that, it's just kind of like where you're destined to go. So whatever errors, whatever bad things, whatever rejection, it's just part of the journey to put you where you end up, And so, and I still feel like that. I was doing that for 18 years. I had my job for 18 years. I had, 3 pregnancies during that show.
Wow.
Yeah. 3 children. So much growing time for those 18 years, married, kids. And then, and then in 2016, it stopped production. And since then, I still love children's content creation. So I'm developing one show right now. I'm doing the YouTube channel, and I've pitched a different kids show to a production company. And so they have the rights to that. Then they try and sell it to a broadcaster. So all of where I am right now is just trying different things. And right now I feel like a bit like a student again. Like I'm learning, and I'm figuring myself out too. I'm kind of like back to where, I know what I love doing, and I'm excited because I'm just trying different things and seeing, what lands and doing what I love. I'm continuing to doing what I love. And that's what's cool about having a YouTube channel that I started 9 months ago in doing the same thing, preschool content. What's cool about it to me is that there's this platform that exists that I can do what I love. And so I'm constantly what do I say? Experiencing it. I am still, honing my craft, I guess. I'm still learning, and I'm learning all of these other sides to it because it's online. So it's different, right? So yeah, there you have
it. Very interesting, and very inspirational as well. So just a quick question for you, Gisele. So tell me a little bit about where your career has taken you over the years. Like, I know that you've been to the Niagara Welland area as well. Do you have any stories to share about that?
Oh yeah, I do. Because I've had, it's lovely in the Welland. Such nice people like you, Jordan.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm not surprised at all, really, because I just have great memories of Welland and Port Colborne too. I've had friends from there. Some of them actually from when I first moved to Toronto. Actually, the friend of mine, the roommate who had suggested me to his agent was from Port Colborne. So
wow.
Yeah, it just occurred to me. Very funny. Yeah.
World. Yeah,
that is funny. So that's weird how that just connected. So yeah, I have a funny Welland story. So many years ago, while I was on TVO Kids, we would do a lot of stage shows, and we would tour them around Ontario. And so I had this stage show. It was actually, I'm not sure where it was. I wish I could remember what it was. Maybe it was in Niagara, somewhere like Niagara Falls or something. Somewhere.
That's where I live, actually, Niagara Falls.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah. Oh, lovely. So there was a little girl who had gone to see one of these performances. I'd received this letter from the mom. I'm not telling this right. I'd received a letter one day from this parent at TVO telling me that she brought her little girl to see me at one of my performances and was trying to hand me at the end of these performances, you'd often get, I guess, kind of mobbed of kids, and they, people want to say hello or take your picture and sign autographs and hand you drawings. You'd always receive all this lovely art and so much love. I mean, it was just so awesome. Aww. So, and now this mom told me this little girl was trying to hand me her drawing. I didn't take it. Oh, felt terrible when I heard that. So I received this letter, and she said, if there's any way that, you can send her a postcard back and say hello to her, because we'd always hand out these postcards, and I guess maybe she saw me signing some of the show. She said, well, if you could send, one, if there's any way, blah, 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 I'd be so grateful and whatever. So I got this letter, and it just so happens that I got this letter, like, I don't know, maybe a week or two before I knew I was going to a bridal shower in Welland. So I thought, wow, I'm going to ring this little girl's doorbell.
Oh my goodness.
I've never done this before. And it was so nerve-wracking for me because I thought, I don't know, like it just felt, it felt kind of just wild to do, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and surprise her. I just knew when I was a kid, I watched Mr. Dress Up growing up, and I just had this dream of imagine ever meeting Mr. Dress Up, having him come to your house. I remember vividly imagining, wishing for that when I was a kid. So I thought, would it mean like that? Would it have that same impact as it did if it were me back when I was a kid? So
wow, I'm getting chills. This is amazing.
So I go to the bridal shower. It was like a Saturday night, and my plan was to drive back to Toronto the next morning, pretty bright and early. And it was like a snowstorm, like it was a sunny morning blizzard. I was in my car, and I thought, no, you're not going to stop. It's not going to stop you from going to this girl's house. You're going to find it, and you're going to ring the doorbell, which I did. And at first, the dad answers. He kind of looks at me like, who are you? And so I said, I am Gisele, and I'm from TVO Kids, and I received a letter from your wife, I guess. And anyway, the wife turns the corner, and she's like, oh, she like freaks out. And the kid was freaking out. Within seconds, the mother is calling her mother, like the grandmother of the child, on the phone, and they're inviting me in. And they were so ecstatic. This little girl was so thrilled. And it was amazing. It was just, I've never did that before. It was the one time I've ever done that. It took courage for me. I was nervous to do it. I don't know. I don't know if it felt like kind of weird to do, but they were so grateful. And so that was my funny Welland experience. It was, it was just neat to do that. And I brought her a t-shirt. I didn't just bring her the postcard. I got her a t-shirt, have pictures with her. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Gisele's Big Backyard. How did that exactly start? I know that you were on the Nook prior to that, right?
Yeah.
Any fond memories about that as well? Yeah.
So, again, another kind of funny story here. But so I was on the Nook from like 1998 until 2005. Is that 7 years? I was like, I never really thought about it. I guess that would be right. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, I was in the Nook, and the Nook it was called the Nook because it was literally filmed in a closet. They didn't have a studio for us at TVO. Wow. And there was an afternoon show called The Crawl Space, and we both shot out of the same, it was literally a closet. It didn't even have proper, it didn't even have a proper lighting grid at the top. It was crazy. Like it was so organic, and I love so much about it. And I always think that YouTube's very much like that. Mm-hmm. That's what gave me the confidence to do YouTube, because the Nook was so homegrown, and it was just me and one other person who produced the show, my senior producer. So we wrote all the stuff. We made our own props. It was not unionized. I did my own makeup and hair. I looked like kind of as haggard as I do right now. And, it was wild. Like we'd have to put our props away after we'd shoot, there were two other people. There was like a production assistant who took notes on the show, who was going to go and schedule the show. And there was the technician. There were 4 people who produced that show. And later on, it was very different, and it was very improv. There was no time to even write scripts because we were so busy just coming up with the ideas. And it was considered live to tape, so you didn't do a lot of takes when you would shoot. And so that's how it started. And then later on, they decided they wanted to make the show bigger. They wanted to grow the show. They wanted, they started thinking about having bringing a puppet on as a little sidekick to me, to have like a little co-host. Mm-hmm. And what's kind of funny is that I, at the time, I was pregnant. But nobody knew. I was waiting. When you're pregnant, you often wait 3 months before telling people because it's like a safety zone. So they tell me when I'm thinking, I'm going to go on a maternity leave in about a year. I'm not, in my head, I'm in the Nook. Okay, my husband and I are going to have a baby. Wow, this is huge. And so I'm going to take a year off work once I become big enough. And so, but then while I'm knowing this big secret that I'm going to tell them, I wanted to go to Montreal first to tell my family, and I was going to come back. And then I thought, after I tell my family, I'm going to tell work, because you're not, you don't have to tell work. You're not legally obligated to tell your work at that time. So anyway, I'm thinking the secret, and they tell me, we want to change the show. We want to make it bigger. We're going to get a big studio, a bigger production crew, and you're going to have a puppet sidekick. And, wow. And we're going to rename the show and all this information there. And they came up with the name Gisele's Big Backyard. And I'm thinking, I'm going to tell you about my big front yard shortly. So it was a pretty wild time, because it came about right when I started growing a little tummy, and we kept shooting it pretty much right up until we shot it right up until I gave birth.
Wow.
Yeah. Because even the baby ended up being born a month early. So that's another thing. I was at Montreal at Christmas. I was in Montreal, and then the baby was born in Montreal. I was still supposed to come back to work, but the baby was born early. That's crazy. So I worked right up until my maternity leave started. And my work, TVO was completely supportive about it, and it was fantastic. It was just such a wild way to start a brand new show, being very pregnant, going through all those changes, and, feeling the baby for the first time while I was on set, sitting on my little mushroom. And so but the show grew from there, and we ended up having more puppets come on later, and it was a bigger production, and it was a lot more beautiful, and it became scripted. So we had, we wrote scripts, and it became all the more educational. We had an educational advisor come on at that point. Wow. And by then too, by the way, for a few years already there was a makeup artist, and we had a props department and wardrobe department. And so it became a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And then it went on from years for there. And like I said, more puppets came in, more babies as well happened as well. But that's what Gisele's Big Backyard, how it came about.
And the production value on that show is so beautiful. The sets and the structure is just so beautiful. I love it. The lighting even was so great. So well done.
The set was actually designed by Jason Hopley, who played Styx, my little.
Oh, wow.
My little squirrel friend, who was the first puppet who came on the show as my best. Wow. Yeah. So he was the first one, and just such a wonderful person to work with. And we had. Over the years, I was there 18 years. I was very lucky to work with a lot of incredibly talented, amazing, really top-notch people. Our team, I was very lucky to work with just so much talent, and not just the puppeteers, but directly the directors that I've worked with, producers, production assistants. I've been very lucky. It was just, it's still work no matter what, but it really helps when you're enjoying the people you work with, and just the community that you feel on set, and the support, the technicians. So it's very, very lucky.
So tell me a little bit about your latest project, the Gisele Mishmash. How did that come about, and any challenges that you faced along the way there?
Yeah, challenges. Yeah. So how did it come about? Well, I had developed a different show, and I had mentioned this earlier. I don't remember where I had mentioned this, because I know we chatted a little bit before our actual chat started. We chatted before the big chat, and
pre-chat.
And so, yeah, our pre-chat. So I had developed this other children's show, preschool show, and so I have a writing agent, and so I was pitching it around to different production companies, and then they try and sell it to a broadcaster. And so basically, at one point, like, it was the show was with one production company, and it fell through. And then it was with another company, and that fell through. And then we were discussing, where else to go and pitch it to other production companies. And during that, we were talking about, perhaps putting it online. Now, I'm not a millennial, if you haven't figured that out. So online was just like very foreign to me. And I never, ever thought I would have a YouTube channel. My children would tell me, you should have a YouTube channel. My own kids, I've seen them watch YouTube, preschool shows in the past. And I remember thinking, what are they watching? And I just thought, to be honest, I really thought it was beneath me at the time. I just thought, like, there's a lot of stuff that is trashy, I guess, of what they were watching. I know there's solid stuff out there, and all the more that now that I'm in it, I see what's good. But there was a lot of riffraff too, and so, so yeah, my writing agent was suggesting maybe we put it online. So I started researching online to see what kind of preschool shows, we're on now, right? And so I started digging more, and then I thought, I'm going to look myself up, and it was not often that I looked myself up on TVO Kids. And I hadn't in a very long time. And then I looked up Gisele's Big Backyard. And then I couldn't believe that there were so many views on, I knew there was a very limited amount of things out there that TVO put out there, but then I discovered that the things that they did put out, I don't even think they were at the top quality stuff that we did. And they had, some of the millions of views. And so I saw that and I thought, what? Oh my gosh, does this mean people are searching Gisele's Big Backyard? And so that was a big eye opener. And also at the same time, I was receiving some messages on LinkedIn. I was not on any social media. I never wanted to be on social media. That's a whole other story. But at that time I was on LinkedIn. And so parents were telling me that they miss me on TVO Kids. So they watch me on YouTube. And I thought, what? People are watching me on YouTube? Like, at the same time, it coincided. And so at that point, it was a big eye opener. And then so my agent and I were discussing that. And right at the same time, that show that I was looking at putting online, it ended up being picked up finally from another production company. But I was very curious now about YouTube. I was like, wow, people want me on there. So I thought, well, why don't I just give it a shot? Like, why don't I try it out for a while? And, it's this free platform for me to do what I love. And so, it was like, once I decided to do it, I was in, and I was so excited about it. Now, the biggest challenge, you asked about challenges, is that I was deep into, learning about YouTube. I bought my equipment. I had started producing my characters and, just full on development. And then I was going to launch it. And then January happened of last year. And there was this new legal act that was put into place called COPPA. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like the Children's Privacy Protection Act, where you cannot put advertisement on kids' YouTube channels, and they disabled comments, and made all these changes to the kids' channels on YouTube. So that happened in January. I launched it in April, but I was already full on in, right? So that had happened before I had decided to have a YouTube channel. There's no way. I don't believe I would have done it. I think I would have been, I would have been scared off, like to have just a big wall in front of you before starting, but I was already in. And I thought, well, you know what? Like, why don't you just do it anyway? like I said, hone your craft, do what you love doing. It's a platform to do it. And then add to that. So that happened in January, and then boom, not only that, but then COVID happens. So I had these two wild cards happen right as I launched in April. It was so funny. And then even when I launched, because of COVID, everybody who knew I was going to start a YouTube channel, they said to me, just launch it, kids are home, just go for it. And so even then, like, it was like a bit of a rushed launch as well. Like, I was trying to get onto social media at the same time. I was already on Instagram for a while. I slowly got in there, but like Facebook, that was a big one. And I knew Facebook was going to be a really big undertaking for me at the same time as launching a YouTube channel, because my whole life appeared in front of my eyes, because my whole generation is on Facebook. So, it's like, everybody showing up from your whole life at the same time as launching a YouTube channel was pretty wild.
Wow.
So, but yeah, that I think is the biggest challenge, is trying to figure out how does my show fit in with ranking and with COPPA and all these, there are hits against you. And, to continue making the show, I need to make income from it, so that I can keep investing back into the show to produce it, because it still will cost you, right? There are costs attached to it. And so, and with COPPA, with that new Privacy Protection Act put into place, YouTube creators have lost 60% of their revenue. So, like, it's even a small revenue, even if you can even rank.
Right.
So there are some big hits that you have to deal with. And I'm not even there yet. I feel like I'm still in the honeymoon. I'm still loving it. I'm still like doing my art, and I'm cool with that. I have other projects as well, like I had mentioned. So, and it's all just, I feel like just all part of my journey of just doing what I love, and just seeing where, things end up. And yeah. And if anything, listen, there'll be stuff online, if it can, there's stuff out there now, so that my, hopefully my grandchildren will be able to access it one day, right? I don't know. Like, worst case.
No, it's amazing. It'll live on there forever, right? So, I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So just another question. Walk us through the content creation process, Gisele. So when you first conceive an idea, right to the shooting process, all the way to when you release your content, what does that typically look like for you?
Okay. So, things are changing a bit, because I'm learning with YouTube, it's very different, because often it's not what you want, it's what people are looking for. So I am learning that now about all the search engine optimization within YouTube, and the keywords and what people are looking for. So it's part of what I would like to do. And then I look into it to see if it's something that, people would want to find. And so I think it's a bit of a combination now. At first, it's just what I wanted to do, what I felt like kids needed. I want an educational show, and I have two wonderful people who are on this journey with me. And one of them is an educational advisor named Stacey Golden, and she worked at TVO with me, as well as Julie Patterson, and she used to be on TVO Kids with me as a host on the weekend crawl space years ago, and then she became a director on TVO. So she will direct when we're outdoors. Well, it's been COVID pretty much since we started. So often it's outdoors. I mean, in the beginning, before COVID, we shot a few things inside, but most of it's been outside. Otherwise it's on my own. And then, having an educational advisor is huge. So, I come up with an idea, then often I'll go to Stacey, who's the educational advisor, and then, I'll get her feedback. Especially if I feel, unsure about something, I'll get her feedback on it. So she'll revise my script. And then, what else does it take? I think from there, once you have your script, and then, it's kind of cool. You go and you set up and you shoot. I set up my lights. I set up I shoot on my iPhone still, I do my hair, my makeup, put on my wardrobe. Have to tell everybody be quiet in the house so that I can shoot. And, Yeah. The lighting is always a big challenge. Let's talk about that lighting. You're asking about challenges. Lighting is my biggest challenge. That is tough business. Like, everything is a challenge, but especially lighting, the
Agreed.
respect, the amount of respect. I have people who do lighting. Oh my gosh. And and then, it's just interesting. Like, I do love that. It's such a great feeling of like such an accomplishment once you shoot something that you did it. Like the setup and the takedown that's the most time consuming part, I find. Like actually shooting it is, that's easier, but it's like the before and after, those are all harder before it gets to air. It's
funny how everything can just be shot on your phones nowadays, right? Compared to the big camera that you use for your audition for TVO.
Can you imagine? Yeah. No, it's incredible. And it's just cool that you can actually do this on your own. It blows my mind. Like I mean, all my 18 years gave me, I think, gave me so much experience. I had a great idea of what it entailed. And it is a lot of work. It is. But the fact that you can actually do it, like it is doable, is huge, that you don't need a whole team of people to do it. You don't. Like, that just makes it, absolutely, it polishes it. It makes it so much, there's so much more to it when you've got the team. But the fact that you can still practice your art, you can still, and put yourself out there, and it becomes a bit of your resume too, right? Like, that's the other thing that's incredible about it, is that it becomes your experience. You learn from it. So it's an education, and you get better at it the more experience you receive by actually putting it into practice, not just trying to go out and find somebody to hire you to put into practice. You're doing it, it's awesome. And that's why I think your generation, what's available out there to you, it's unbelievable. You just have to, I think hard work is huge, the determination, right? And just to keep going, right? I just feel like I'm going to keep going, because I just feel that, I just trust whatever happens. If I can't do it anymore, then, so be it. Like, that's just part of the journey. It's because something else is going to be in place for me. Like, I just feel like I go with the gut, and this is what I love doing. And I think, yeah. And, your generation, it's fascinating on how like just the education that you can receive both within school to do it right. And then just the hands-on experience available to you. So cool.
Yeah. Even YouTube. Like, I can't even count how many lessons and how many technical skills that I've learned just from watching YouTube alone. Right.
Yes. Yes, that's it. How many I've watched as well. It's crazy. And I remember this is somebody who was like, YouTube? When my, my rating agent first mentioned it, I was like, YouTube? And then next thing you know, it's all I watch pretty much,
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I just think, and the other thing I find, like, when you're a student, is like, I find the confidence is the biggest, I think that's the biggest hurdle for people, or maybe it was for me, like I absolutely, didn't have the confidence in the past. I've learned it like years later, after, like most recently, I think the more steps that I take, it's taken a lot of fear facing to do this, to put myself out there on YouTube after 18 years, and you get, your little amount of views and your little amount of subscribers. And I've raised millions of children in Ontario. I helped to raise them,
Literally.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'm starting off from scratch. Like I'm just like completely starting new. That's taken a lot of courage. And, but I think with every little step, I feel more confident about it. And I feel like, and it comes with age too. And I wish I had known, my younger self had known about just being, more confident. Like, I think even me sending in that VHS tape to TVO, I'm not sure I would have had the complete courage to do it. If it wasn't for my boyfriend at the time, to, I told him, I was an actor and I went back to school in anthropology, but, I told him I was an actor. I think it was like part of me, like saying, oh, I better prove myself now, like, so I think my confidence has come, honestly, more recently, just by taking these small steps of facing fear, and then my confidence has come. And I think if you can just, take the courage to keep doing things that make you scared, and even at like what you did, I mean, you reached out to me to ask me to do this. I never would have had the confidence. I think honestly, like back in the day, I wouldn't have had the confidence, even when I was at TVO, to do to reach out to people, to anything kind of work related. And this is, it's your school related, which is also work related. I just think like, having that confidence to go and take those steps, to send the email or send the message to somebody, I think is amazing. Like having the confidence. I think that's like a huge part of the battle, is to face fears and overcome them and just keep moving forward, and whatever's handed to you, to just do it. Like, and then you feel so much better. And then it just, your confidence grows. It's,
Exactly.
It's wild,
I never thought about it like that before. And I find it really interesting that you mentioned digital marketing as well, because that's something that I'm just starting to really explore, search engine optimization and keywords and all that kind of stuff as well. How did you kind of like find that was an important factor in your success on YouTube?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like when I had launched the show, like I had said, it was a very sudden launch. I wasn't expecting a launch in April. I needed more time. I think it was, I was thinking April, but I needed a month. I wanted a month still to go over it. I really wanted to go over all my notes to have my search engine optimization in place for my YouTube channel. Okay. But COVID happened and people were like, just launch the show, just launch it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to launch it. It's launched. And so I knew about search engine optimization, but I was so busy with all the creative, that all that business side to it, all that other extremely important stuff on YouTube, I just didn't make the time for. I put my time into all the creative, and I was so swamped. So what happened was only recently, to be honest with you, that I finally said, okay, you really got to put some effort into this. You got to start learning about it. You got to start watching more YouTube videos, get educated again, ask questions, speak with people who knew about search engine optimization. And so that's what I just recently started to do. So I'm just now correcting a lot of the mistakes, I guess you could say, that I made. And I try not to kick myself too hard about it. It is what it is. And it's okay. I just do it now, right? Like, don't give up just because, I should have had that in place, or like people, even my thumbnails have been very weak and things, those little icons that people click on when they see videos on YouTube. Anyway, so yeah, like I'm just correcting that all now, and that's the other thing. You got to just do your best and then correct yourself, learn from your mistakes, try to correct them. Just keep moving forward. Somebody said that to me from the start, just keep moving forward. So I'm just moving forward, and
I love it.
Yeah. And especially, that's huge for you. Like I think is, for when you're young, is to just, it's those little steps of just keep going. Right.
So what would you say is the biggest difference between performing on set in front of a camera and interacting with the children live? So say when you're doing a reading at a library.
When I'm on camera with the kids, I've always envisioned the children. I've always envisioned the children at home. So, that's what's helped me to be excited to perform, to engage the children, is just feeling that, remember who your audience is. So right before, I start on camera, that's the vision I have in my head, is just a child at home, not even children. I'm usually thinking one child, maybe sometimes a few pop in my mind while I'm performing, but I know there's at least one child out there. So, yeah. And then when it's at a stage show, I mean, stage shows are amazing because then it's in real life and you actually get to hear what the children say and see feel their energy. And you just learn so much when you meet the kids, the things they say to you. And I miss the best when you have the opportunity to actually meet kids in real life. I mean, that's it's pretty incredible to have that experience. I've been very fortunate to have both of those experiences, so yeah, I guess you just carry that part with you when you see them in real life, and then you got to bring it to camera. But of course, real life is better. Just like this, right? Like we're talking on, through a camera, but in real life it'd be more exciting. Like I think, I might slap you if I I say something funny, not in a harsh, aggressive way, but that's something I might do. I might push you and say, "Get it." I don't know.
Have you heard any stories from children that have really been impacted by you, in their lives? Have they ever shared anything with you? Or
I find that's more since I've been on social media, which is interesting because I'm still very new to social media. But it's more when they've grown up that, because I've raised, I guess, been through several generations of kids who grew up watching me. I've received messages mostly on Instagram, like DMs, and then people tell me about some of the hard times they've been through when they were a kid, and they felt that I was like a moment of peace for them. And sometimes I choke up when I hear these stories. I mean, there's so many stories over the years that's just most recent that it's really kind of cool because now you're seeing people as adults and you hear their side of things to when they were young. That's what's really cool about being on social media and learning like that as when they were turned into adults. Like, how cool is that? How lucky am I get to hear about their childhood. It's so cool. And then, there are many times, that I get very emotional when I tell my husband about some of the stories that I've been told. I'm just kind of blank right now, but some people, they meet you and they're just so overjoyed, and sometimes they're in tears, and it makes me in tears, or puts me in tears. Other times it's been parents, like at some of the shows over the years, some of the stage shows, or some of the autograph signings would do these meet and greets, and they come up to you and it'd be quick. There were so many people, so the TVO staff would have to keep pushing them through the line, but I try to have at least 2 minutes or not even, I don't even know how long it'd be. Either it's a photo or a quick chat. And I'd always want to speak with every single person. So it's hard because, as you can see, I'm pretty chatty. And anyway, and some of the parents there, they tell me their family had grown up with me and they learned English because of TVO Kids. They would move to the country, and that's how they learned to speak English. And that they thank me for, they tell me about how they immigrated here and what an impact I've had. And oh my gosh, sometimes I couldn't even I'd be signing an autograph. I wouldn't want to look up because I'd be so embarrassed because I'd be teary-eyed, But many, many stories. There's so many stories over the years. It's just so wild. I feel so lucky that even care to watch me or that they enjoy me. And it's so nice. So it's cool. Yeah.
So I personally grew up watching the great Canadian icons such as yourself, Judy and David, Sharon, Lois and Bram, Tansy and Rosebell on Treehouse. Tell me a little bit about working with some of these other great children's performers like the Wiggles and the cast of Polka Dot Shorts.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Such just fun experiences. It'd be really neat when you would have those opportunities to work with other performers that do what you do. It was neat, similar to what you do. Right. And I know I'd love it. It was just it just made the show more just more fun, especially like if it was musical artists, like the Wiggles, for example, first nicest people ever, very funny. Like they came to our studio and it was tiny, as I'd mentioned, when it was in the Nook. And the shortest one was 6 feet tall. That's
Wow.
Jeff, the purple Wiggle who always falls asleep. Anyway, so he's 6 feet.
Wake up, Jeff.
Oh yeah, and he's the shortest, and I'm 5'2". So he was the shortest. So to get us in the same shot, because I don't remember who was the tallest, maybe Murray. He was the red Wiggle, and I don't even know how tall he is. I'd have to Google that, but like I don't know, 6'6". I don't even know. There are tall Australian guys, and so to get us in the same shot without getting the lighting grid in was tricky, and I'd have to stand like an apple box, like so that anyway. But I even have a photo, and you could see that I'm on this box, and then like they're up in the lighting grid. It's so fun. But something like a musical guest was I always enjoyed because I don't sing, so it was perfect because I could just. It just took a lot of pressure off me, I think, too, because they'd have these beautiful voices and sing, and I could just dance along and enjoy them. So I'd say those in particular, but also like Steve from Blue's Clues. I remember, like he came on. Yeah, and we'd actually worked also on did a stage show together. And High Five, do you remember High Five? That's another musical group. So worked with them as well a couple of times. Actually, everybody was a couple times, like both stage and on TVO Kids together. And and it was just fun. Like, Steve from Blue's Clues was just cool. We got along really great, and it was fun because it was just me and him. It wasn't a big group of people. It was often just me. So more intimidating because there'll be a lot of them. And I always felt comfortable just because it was, they're coming to my show, I guess. So, it's my comfort zone. But often it's like a bigger group of people and then just me. So they'd have their interactions and their whole, vibe going on. And it was fine because we'd all have a great time in the end. But Blue's Clues with Steve, it was just neat because it was just the two of us. And so, we really spent a lot of time chatting and it was just a lot of interaction. And I remember him being, just really a cool, fun person in real life. And it's funny too, because when you meet these people, we're always in wardrobe. And I know that they think what I think. We're like, what do you like in real life? Like, what do you dress like? What is your taste in music? Like, who are you? I know, I'm sure they do, because I remember like meeting them, we'd get along so great. And then you'd try and figure each other out. And, because we'd always meet each other fully in character. I mean, we were ourselves, but we were dressed in character. And, often you have your people around you. So your marketing people or, just other staff around. So it's just very funny. But if it was just neat experience. But always a good time when I'd work with other children's performers. Yeah.
So just another question for you, Gisele. If you could go back in time and give young Gisele some advice, maybe when you were back at U.F.T, what would you give? What would you say to yourself?
Oh, that's a big question, Jordan. I think just what would I have told myself? I would have told young Gisele. The big thing I mentioned before is about just going for things that you were afraid of and try your best. Work hard. If you really want something, it can be yours. You will have to work hard, and there might be some sacrifices along the way. You might have to be smart with your money so that if you're working at a restaurant like I was, to have a great time, enjoy life, be with your friends, have your parties, enjoy stuff, but put aside money as well. Like, be smarter with your money. That would be a huge thing. So that if you ever want to pursue something, whether it's going back to school again or launching a YouTube channel, whatever it is, to just be smart. Or maybe it's just to travel more. Like, to experience life more, to be smart with money, face fears, and just do it anyway. Even though you're scared, just do it. Hit the send button, do the work, and then that'll grow your confidence with time. So I think that's it. Does that kind of answer your question? I hope it does. I'll probably hang up with you. We'll probably get off this call and be like, why did I say that? I should have also made But
I'm sure I'll be the same way with questions too.
Oh, really? Okay. But I do think those are the things that I would have said. Yeah. Yeah, it is so I have a daughter now, and she's 15 now. And with her, I'm so excited because I see where I would have made mistakes, and I want to just tell her, like, these are your options, and build that confidence. I'm excited for her to take her path and feel like I can give her the support and cheerleading that she will need, based on my own experience. And I feel that I can, help her hone things in her future career. So that's exciting too,
Love it. Awesome. Well, I think that's all I got for you, Gisele. Is there any last parting words that you'd like to leave us with today?
I hope not. I hope, for your sake. Oh, I know it chat so much. Okay, no, it's not even that. I feel like I just hope I don't regret that I didn't not mention anything else. Like about the advice and stuff like that for somebody. But I think I said it right. I think I did. I said to you, hard work. But if you want something, just keep at it. Don't waste time. Too much time, enjoy life for sure. But just be it's the confidence factor. I really think that. I think it's it's the hardest thing, or for me it was, Does anybody ever tell you that before? I hope this is kind of so I don't know. I'm just curious. Does anybody ever tell you or maybe you are confident. You're confident. You messaged me and it was all good.
I do reach for the stars, right? So sometimes I'll just when I messaged you, it was oh, this may not happen. I'm just going to try it anyways. So
yeah,
I feel like I'm not always like that, but I would like to be. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Just that that's exactly what you have to do with everything. Just going to do it anyway. That's what you just said. That's it. You're already way ahead of the game compared to where I was. I'm telling you. And I do feel like that about your whole generation. I just feel that so many people are, just so much more confident in putting themselves out there. But sometimes it's not always the right choices. I think but you learn from mistakes. But I think I think you just do what you just said is huge. You're going to be a huge success. If you can just keep doing that over and over again, that's going to take you so far. And then also just to trust that whatever it is, if you're is this the right path I'm on, and blah, 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 go with your gut, and, you can definitely change paths. But if you're on something, you just have to believe that, okay, when the time is right, we're going to switch gears. That's going to be my journey. Just trust wherever you're going. That's the way I feel about it. I really do. That's my 2 cents.
Well, thank you so much, Gisele. I really, really appreciate you doing this and taking the time out of your day and just kind of imparting some of your wisdom, thank you so much.
Okay, Jordan, nice chatting.
You can follow Gisèle Corinthios on social media, and if you have little ones, be sure to check out her YouTube show, The Gisele Mishmash, full of educational sketches and some of the characters that she performs. You can find all of her links in the show description. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to The Jordan James Show, and while you're there, please give us a nice rating and review. We're available for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and at thejordanjamesshow.com for more exclusive content. I'm your host, Jordan James, and we'll see you next time as we continue to discover the path to success on The Jordan James Show.
During COVID-19, during the pandemic, there was a lot of chaos going on, and we thought, what could we do throughout this period of time where instead of focusing on these problems, we could think of an opportunity.
My name is Matthew Evanson. I am co-founder and head coach at F.I.T Performance.
My name is Manana Bijua. I'm 21 years old, and I am the co-founder and head coach here at F.I.T Performance.
We initially met on our first day at fitness and health promotion at Durham College. Throughout that, we started to study together a little bit more, and we really noticed that we had a really good work connection. We could work well together.
So we started brainstorming. You know, Matthew and myself would hop on calls every day, trying to think, create an idea. What can we do to really make an impact that can also change people's lives? And that's when we decided to come up with F.I.T Performance, which is now our company that we are very proud and very happy to bring to you guys. Our company offers personalized, tailored workout programs specific to your body that are safe, efficient, effective, and enjoyable.
We also have our training insights, which dive into the science behind some of our movements and what's happening exactly to your body when you're working out, when you're doing these types of things.
There you go, come on! Squeeze that back, come on, come on, Matthew.
What sets us apart is our focus on lifestyle and mindset and training insights. We believe that focusing more on health as a holistic view and overall, physical and the mental aspect of things, focusing on overall wellness, we think not only provides you with more information and knowledge, but it helps with a better transformation and an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you're interested on taking the first step to an everlasting journey of growth, physically, mentally, and emotionally,
feel free to reach out to us on our social media. We'll link our information at the end of the video, and we'd be more than happy to help you set and achieve your health and fitness goals by leveraging our functional improvement techniques. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your time, and we hope to connect with you soon. Take care.